You're listening to Healthcare Now Radio. Stand by for This Just In, the latest in healthcare innovation and technology trends with your HIT advisor, Justin Barnes.
Thank you for joining me today on This Just In Radio. I had an amazing time this year at the HIMSS annual conference as we aired This Just In Radio live from the show floor. Our fourth year in a row, and thankfully, they always get better. Thank you very much to all of my amazing guests that came by to share their time and thought leadership. Many thanks to the show sponsor, Lenovo Health, and certainly many thanks to Roberta Mullins and the Healthcare Now Radio team for producing this show. We've compiled all of the guest interviews to share with you in this broadcast, but look for many more in the coming weeks. You'll also find these interviews on our archive channels. Just check in at thisjustinradio.com. We hope you enjoy these HIMSS18 recordings as they are all in their true environment with 40,000 healthcare and health IT leaders all around us, as this year we placed our studio right in the middle of all the action. And you'll be able to hear the energy and hopefully feel it as well. Enjoy.
With that, I can bring on my first guest here, Ed Gillispie. Won't you walk on up here on the stage? Thank you very much, my friend. Excellent. Thank you. First of all, thank you very much, Ed Gillispie, Vice President and General Manager for Lenovo Health. So let's start off a little bit on what do you see out there, looking across healthcare and health IT, what innovations are you most excited about?
Thanks, Justin. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for participating and listening in. It's exciting to be part of your radio show. I am also a frustrated radio and DJ announcer. Just finished announcing my daughter's high school soccer game last night. That's why I just joined early this morning. So love to get a microphone and have a lot of fun and certainly talk shop regarding the healthcare industry, which is one of my passions. I think in terms of the healthcare industry, we're seeing just a continued shift toward the industry shift in the past decade, really, from volume to value-based care, and the continued maturation of that process across the whole continuum of care to make sure that health information technology plays even a more key role. So I'm excited about participating in that. I've done that in a past life. I'm really excited to be a part of the Lenovo Health team and really seeing the pressure on the healthcare industry to provide more value for the entire continuum of care, not just for patients, but now consumers. So we all have to be thinking about how we are driving wellness across that continuum, how we're doing it both from an inpatient, outpatient, telehealth, and also medical home, which is what we represent here at Lenovo. And I'm very excited to be able to showcase those solutions that we have from an integrated IT standpoint here, and would invite all of you to come to our booth when you have time this week.
Thank you very much, Ed. So tell me a couple of ways in my audience, how are you addressing, or would you recommend people address those trends that you talked about, consumerism, the medical home, patient medical home, all that. So what are some of the best practices that you would share there?
Great, thank you. I think there's a number of best practices, maybe key on a few of them. Really look at what we can do to really keep the patient and the consumer in the center of everything that we're discussing and what we're trying to accomplish. At the end of the day, this entire ecosystem, payer, provider, pharma, and consumer is very important, but I think the most important in this entire ecosystem is the consumer and the patient, making sure that we own our wellness as a consumer of healthcare. I think in the past we have trusted our healthcare ecosystem too much. We haven't owned it, and I think that is really the major change that we see as we shift from volume to value-based care, is making sure that we've got integrated IT solutions that matter, that are providing real value so that folks can own their health, and we're showcasing a lot of those solutions here.
Let's actually dive into that a little bit. And we're going to have a panel. We have a global innovation panel that starts at 12:40 today. Some phenomenal innovations in there. We'll have Lenovo will be there, Vital will be there, Orbit will be there, Intel will be there. But tell me just a couple of, looking around the booth, what do you see here? What can you explain to the audience that maybe there's a lot here in person, but also 10,000 or so listening online? What do you have for some innovations that you can talk about or highlight here?
Sure. Well, I think it starts again with understanding what the patient needs are and being able to provide wellness for them, and that ongoing proactive wellness program across that continuum of care. What you see in our booth, Justin and team, is showcasing our core products, first and foremost, which are very robust ThinkPad devices that are tailored for our healthcare industry, that are very reliable, providing good patient outcomes through data and helping the entire ecosystem, both provider, payer, as well as pharma solutions. Then you've got some specific solutions in our booth that are showcasing integrated solutions from an IT standpoint, both inpatient and outpatient with key partners, and looking at tap and go solutions, looking at some integrated solutions for radiology and cardiology solutions, as well as being able to provide that continuum of care beyond the inpatient, beyond the four walls, telemedicine solutions that we have with some partners, as well as medical home. And then you mentioned Vital as a partner. We've got one of our Vital principals here and working on a partnership with them as we speak to provide a diagnostic solution that would be a part of, I would say, our medical home, but really all the time care, and be able to do some really great wellness outcomes, as well as some device-centric outcomes for diagnostics. So there's a number of solutions that we have, again, at the core, our ThinkPad products, as well as being a integrated IT solution provider. So we believe that our value in the industry as Lenovo Health is being able to provide that health information technology solution, again, that is in the center of our priority, the consumer, that becomes the patient, but really drives wellness, and being able to provide the right technology, be able to provide the right outcomes so that they can take action and make good decisions on their wellness ongoing with their care providers.
Oh, that's excellent. So you bring up action and actionable intelligence. That's what this show has been about for the last 4 years that we broadcast live from HIMSS. And also just a nod of thanks to you and your team, Craig and Bobby here at Lenovo, because we all partnered almost a year ago and created a think tank. We talked a lot of, and we brought in a lot of the latest innovations in value-based care and connected health and virtual care. You're bringing them a lot of them to life here in the booth for HIMSS18. But we've had a phenomenal collaboration. We've had a great breakfast. We just came from about 50 collaborators around those three topics, and just the biggest health institutions and innovators out in the industry are really moving a lot of those strategies forward, and also sharing through collective wisdom the best practices that we've learned, and being on the front tip of the spear, being on the front side of this in healthcare, and the front lines of healthcare. This think tank is now about to share over the next week or two about 60 best practices when it comes to value-based care, connected health, and virtual care out to everybody. So I want to say thank you very much to you and your whole Lenovo team for helping us create that think tank, sponsor that think tank, and really move us forward in the industry. It was a great collaborative. Really having a lot of fun with that. So in our closing minute, what else are you looking forward to at HIMSS18 while you're still here for the next day or so?
Well, thank you, Justin. Again, it's a pleasure to kick off your radio show and participate. It's a pleasure to be participating with the entire healthcare ecosystem. I enjoyed participating in HIMSS my first time 10 years ago, and really have enjoyed the past 10 years in this journey and continuing to provide value in the marketplace. And really looking forward to connecting with a lot of customers and a lot of partners here over the next few days, and showcasing our value as an integrated IT solution provider, and bringing to bear what you just described in a very real way for consumers, for patients, providers, payers, and pharma in this entire ecosystem. It's complex, but it doesn't need to be. Regardless of your political persuasion, we know that we've got to take ownership for our own health. And we've got to make sure that we are providing the right systems in place from a healthcare delivery standpoint to be able to make sure that it's sustainable and it's real and it's value-based. So we're looking forward to showcasing that. We're looking forward to connecting with, again, a lot of customers and partners to be able to provide that, and look forward to that this week and beyond. So thank you very much for allowing us to participate and kick off this great radio show.
Thank you very much, Ed. Ed Gillispie, Lenovo Health. Thank you very much, Ed. Thank you very much, John. I appreciate you guys being here. Was it easy to find, or? Thank you. Well, first of all, you've been a great guest, John, for the radio show since our inception here at HIMSS. So thank you very much for always coming back. You have a phenomenal new book out as well. But it's Paul Cerrato. So John Halamka, Paul Cerrato. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining the show today. Let's start off with a little bit. What innovations are you seeing in healthcare and health IT? So let's start off with you, Paul, a little bit on there.
All right, mobile medicine.
Yep.
And one of the things that we're trying to do, as we did with the precision medicine book, is to separate hype from reality, which mobile is about. Maybe 100,000 mobile health apps out now. Some of them are little more than window dressing, but there are some that have a very, very real impact on healthcare and personalized care. So I I'd say those are the two main innovations that come to my mind.
And so talk a little, just give maybe 10, 30 seconds on your book, the name of your new book, and a little bit about it.
The name of the book is The Transformative Power of Mobile Medicine. So we're going to talk about telemedicine, we're going to talk about mobile health apps as it relates to diabetes, cancer, all the big chronic diseases, and kind of separating the wheat from the chaff to figure out which ones work really well.
Excellent. Thank you. And so since you guys got here early, you get a little extra airtime, so I didn't mind it's excellent. So, John, regarding that, some of the trends that Paul spoke of, how do you recommend, well, first of all, how are you addressing, and obviously the book is one way, or how do you recommend people address some of these trends that Paul spoke of?
Sure, so we're at HIMSS18, and right every HIMSS has a certain theme, if you will. So last year it was big data, population health, care management. And today, what we're seeing, machine learning, APIs, and mobile. So what is our strategy? Do we believe that the EHR vendors are going to create the next great innovation for precision medicine, patient family engagement? We actually don't. What we think is Lego building blocks that you're going to get from certain organizations. It could be Google, Amazon, Microsoft, but there's also going to be innovation from the 26-year-olds in the garage. So my role as a CIO, what I do at Beth Israel Deaconess in the Empire, instead of actually provisioning software, I'm procuring services and I plumb them together to create these novel outcomes to help us on this journey to machine learning and precision medicine and the patient family engagement we want.
Excellent. So what are some of the best practices that you, more on the granular level, and we have time for this, what are some of the best practices that you recommend to my audience and members of people here at HIMSS that have all taken the time to be here to guide them in those directions? What are some of the best practices?
Sure. So as I was saying, the monolithic one vendor, one size fits all solution it's history. Not going to be there. The question you need to ask yourself is, what is your governance model in your organization? The adoption of cloud-hosted services and these new mobile apps. And you have to be careful, right? So I want to tell you this is a true pitch that I had. I'm not making this up. I'm going to build a plugin for Tinder. So when you get a sexually transmitted disease, you can take a picture of your groin, send it to the cloud, and deep learning will diagnose the infection that you have. Now,
you got that bit.
Yeah, I can tell you that if you don't have governance, you're actually going to get that in use throughout your organization, and maybe it's good or maybe it's bad, maybe it's snake oil, we don't know. Right? I mean, you've heard of some mobile apps that the FDA has actually demanded be removed from the App Store because they are just not effective. So our role is we curate the app. We ensure it's secure, it's plumbed appropriately, and then we put it in a curated app store. And then over time, monitor its life cycle. Those are just some bits of advice.
Excellent. So what do you hope to achieve at HIMSS, or HIMSS18, the next couple of days, the remaining couple of days?
Well, I hope I have a voice at the end of it. But beyond that, I really believe that we're starting to see an ecosystem evolve of products and services that seamlessly plumb into the electronic health record and enhance the usability. Because as an emergency physician, I have a 2-to-1 ratio of administrative time versus clinical time. That means I'm typing. I'm using the tools that aren't fit for purpose. So I'm watching all the organizations around us. It's like, how do I plug in your tool to add value, reduce burden, enhance experience, reduce total medical expense, and ensure quality? And I'm seeing that, and it's real.
Excellent. So we have a couple of minutes. Paul, if you want to cover some of the high points of the book that you guys, your precision medicine book, we're going to cover a couple of points there. I want you to or just an outline of what people can expect with the book. Very good points. So John, what would you like to add a couple of points on the book?
Sure. So each of us has different care preferences. Each of us has a different genome. Each of us has a different reaction to factors. So, for example, I was the second human sequenced in the Human Genome Project, so I actually know every disease I will ever develop. I know my risk factors. I've been vegan for 22 years, and so I certainly think of food as medicine. And so these are some of my biases. So when I go see a clinician and say, I have a medical problem, I want my genome and my preferences to be taken into account. So here's the interesting story. That has happened. And as Paul said, it takes courage. So the New England Journal says, don't order a PSA, a prostate-specific antigen test, in any man because over 15 years there's no reduction in morbidity or mortality for the population. And actually that's true. But my genome says I'm going to die of prostate cancer.
Right.
On the other hand, as a vegan who eats only rocks and sticks, and has a resting cholesterol of 72, I have basically no heart disease or stroke risk. But the New England Journal says measure my LDL, HDL, and triglycerides every year. So my clinician has said every year you get a PSA, and we are stopping all cholesterol-related tests. And that's precision medicine today.
That's awesome. So you have an initiative that just became aware of, so the sanctuary, correct?
Right.
So let's spend a couple seconds. Again, we have about 3 or 4 minutes. So please tell the audience, I've been able to follow this for the last couple of months. Please talk about your new initiative here. Please invest a lot of time and treasure.
Sure. So I'm 55. And as a 55-year-old, it's the time in my life where I need to serve. Right? So I'm done with I've raised the children, I've buried the parents, it's now a question of service. So I established a 70-acre animal sanctuary, 250 animals, horses, pigs, donkeys, cows, chickens, geese, guinea fowl, Great Pyrenees, 1 million bees, and we are a nonprofit organization serving the greater community. We've actually dedicated half the property to public access and charitable causes, so on a daily basis. We have folks with autism, we have folks who are aging, all coming to volunteer and learn. So it's really a wonderful environment, and unfortunately it's snowing right now. I'm getting 12 inches today, so I'm enjoying my time at HIMSS with you, and my wife is in the tractor clearing snow.
Well, you also had a little catastrophe too, but the pig was okay, right?
Oh my God, you really read.
Yeah, well, I saw it. It came from the
So as you might imagine, as the facilities manager of this 70 acres sanctuary, I am responsible for the Google Mesh networking, the 11 streaming cameras, the electrical, all the rest. And while I was here, one of the heated buckets for the pigs shorted out and caused a pig enclosure to burn. We do not lock any animals in any enclosure ever. So all of the animals were able to exit. Everybody's fine and safe. But there's a pile of ash where a building used to be.
And the pig was okay.
Totally fine.
Excellent.
And what's even stranger is the way we discovered this was 4 a.m. And as you know, I don't sleep exactly. And so I was watching one of the mesh networked cameras, and I actually saw the fire start and called my wife and said, go out and take care of this. So it was technology on the sanctuary.
Technology at its finest. Excellent. Thank you very much. Halamka, Paul Cerrato, thank you very much, guys, for joining the show. Dan Munro, thank you very much. Author, Forbes contributor, great to have you on the show. You and I have, we did a radio show together about a month ago. We've done panels together in the past. I think you're the only one who actually forecasted Donald Trump being president. I'm just kidding. No. We did do a show, forecasting, or just basically talking about where healthcare was going, and none of us forecasted the election results, but I think that we did a good job forecasting where healthcare would be in a couple of years ahead. But Dan Munro, thank you very much for joining me live on air. And we are live, so we're shifting here. We're going to shift around some guests a little bit, but always great. So from your perspective, first of all, let's dive into HIMSS18. Let's dive into your great book, Casino Healthcare. But what do you hope to achieve by being here at HIMSS18 this year?
Yeah, so it's always a good lens into both where the industry is headed in terms of my coverage area, which is technology innovation and policy as it relates to one of America's largest industries, which is healthcare. And one of the great taglines that I pulled away from an event yesterday was from Dr. Madara, who is the president of the American Medical Association. I had a chance to interview him, and one of the takeaways from his organization is that it's really a $2 trillion a year industry with a $3.5 trillion price tag.
That's right.
So it's a great lens into every year where the industry is making progress, and then obviously where some of the challenges are.
So did you catch any of the keynotes yet? Have you caught a couple of them?
I haven't, but of course I read about them online, and in a lot of ways that winds up being, for me as a writer, more effective than probably being in the audience, which is in a lot of ways can be its own distraction.
Right. No, very good point. So tell my audience and my group here about your book, Casino Healthcare. First of all, phenomenal read. I love the way you size up where the health insurance market is, where health reform is going, and also some thoughts of where we need to go. And we've got some time, so let's dive into.
Sure. So yeah, it was actually at HIMSS last year that I got a chance to hear Michael Levitt, who's the founder of Levitt Partners and also
HHS Secretary,
Governor of Utah. I mean, his background is phenomenal. And he said something that struck me right between the eyes, which is that this kind of systemic healthcare reform that we're in the middle of really needs about a 40 to 50 year timeline. And he said, in effect, we're about halfway through. And I would tend to agree with that. I think we probably lost about 5 years in the sense of the chaos and the tumult that we've seen as the result of this administration. So I think we may have lost about 5 years, but we're on track. There's a lot of talk about single-payer systems. There's a lot of talk about Medicare for all. There's a lot of talk about, how we extend coverage in ways that everybody could be a part of the healthcare system in a more meaningful way. And so that was part of the genesis for the book, was really to help Americans in general understand that the system that we have, when they interact with it, they tend to feel that it's broken.
Right, very true.
And the reality is that it's not broken. It's actually working exactly as designed. And one of the things that tipped the hat for me in the sense of writing the book was actually a quote by Michael Lewis, who's one of my favorite all-time writers and authors, and they've made movies out of his books. I don't think there'll be a movie out of this one, but maybe a documentary. That would be a good one. But one of the quotes that he had on 60 Minutes when he was promoting his book was the idea that if the system is so complex that you can't understand it, then you can't question it. And my twist on that quote is, in healthcare, our system isn't actually all that complex, but it's totally opaque. So if it's so opaque that you can't see it, then you can't question it. And that's part of where a lot of Americans are relative to understanding how the system actually works. So the book is designed as a kind of format to this big casino. And we have a map here for the show at HIMSS, and it's a lot like that in the sense of trying to cover all the key elements of healthcare and healthcare design.
So you covered this a little bit, but, writing a book of this magnitude and the complexity of the issue, what do you hope to achieve? What leave behind do you want from a legacy standpoint for your book, or what do you hope to achieve by publishing the book?
Yeah, so there's a lot of confusion right now on the term single payer. And some have called it Medicare for all. Some call it still single payer. There's a new project that's actually identifying or trying to identify this as Medicare extra for all. So there's variations of this concept, single payer healthcare, and are we headed there? Which is a big kind of looming question in the background of policy. And
even though last week it reared its head again. So
exactly. And so the reality is that Americans are tending to increase the popularity for the idea of single payer. My argument, which I make in the book, which is a full-throated argument, is the payment mechanism isn't as important as getting to single pricing. Single pricing healthcare is actually far more important and has a bigger lever on cost than who pays for that. Whether we have a single-payer system or a multi-payer system is immaterial. We're a big, wealthy country. We can easily afford any healthcare system we choose to design except one, the one we have.
Excellent. So let's dive into that a little bit. I mean, what are some of the solutions, getting to price transparency and those aspects that you brought up?
Yeah, so there is a lot of focus and a lot of interest around the idea of transparency, but what I've seen in my travels is that there's actually a lot more pricing transparency that's available. For example, I live in Phoenix, one of the big healthcare systems in Phoenix is Banner Health. And I think it's like the 8th largest hospital system in the country. It's big.
Yeah.
They publish their prices online.
They've been core leading for a long time.
They have. They have. And so they've been publishing their prices for a long time. But the reality is that price is meaningless to most consumers because it is entirely dependent. The price ultimately is entirely dependent on your tier of coverage. And that isn't determined until you actually enter the healthcare system. And it's that tiered coverage that leads to tiered pricing. And so the tiered pricing is what is the holdback, or what's really holding us up, gating us from making the kind of progress that I think we need to make.
So what would you say from a standpoint of moving the needle toward what would be the argument for a single payer type of system? I think that's kind of where you're cascading a little bit there. But what are some of your thoughts there?
Sure. So the big lever that you get with a single payer system is single pricing.
Right.
And so that's sort of my argument, is that the two go hand in glove around the rest of the world. The rest of the world, in fact, as it relates to healthcare systems, have all adopted a model of universal health coverage. And that's a key distinction that I make, because coverage is different than saying universal health care. Universal health care is an ambiguous phrase that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, often based on a political agenda.
Right.
And so somebody says universal health care, well, what does that really mean? Universal health coverage has a very distinct definition, and the World Health Organization provides a good one that references the model that has been adopted throughout the rest of the industrialized world. America is literally the only country that doesn't have universal health coverage.
So shifting a little bit, obviously Casino Healthcare is the book. People can download it, they can Amazon, they can get it all different.
In fact, it's on sale right now at Amazon for the print version, which is $10.
Perfect. What's also serendipitous that we're in Las Vegas. So Casino Healthcare, we're in Las Vegas.
And I love it when HIMSS comes to Vegas, because
every 2 years.
Every 2 years it promotes it, it helps make my case.
Yeah, I think we're bouncing now between Orlando and Vegas, with two cities that can handle a group of 40 to 50,000 people.
Exactly. It's gotten to the point where I think the metrics this year will be easily 45,000 people.
Yeah. So shifting a little bit in our closing couple of minutes onto HIMSS, what else do you hope to achieve over the next day or two, walking around the show floor, seeing speakers?
So yeah, this is always a great opportunity every year in a condensed way to meet and see a lot of solutions and a lot of progress that companies are making individually. But then it's also a great opportunity to link up with people that are in the industry that are making and forcing issues in the policy side as well as the innovation side. It comes together here like no other place on the annual calendar. So that's one of the reasons why I come every year, or try to come every year.
You actually just had Ginny Romanati walk from IBM walk behind you.
There you go.
Yeah, this is the place.
This is it. Yeah.
If you're here in healthcare, you're in health IT, you need to be at HIMSS. I mean, people, I hear people, it's too big. No, you come here, you just throw yourself into the fray. You're going to meet people. You're going to see a lot of peers you've been collaborating with for 20 years, 10 years.
And as a big shout out, I was just at the Microsoft Health Forum, which is an annual event. And I go all the way back to Microsoft Hug. Which a lot of people won't remember. But Microsoft Health Forum this year, I was a judge for their innovation
we just ran your radio spot for that, right?
Right. Yeah. And the exciting part about that was their huge commitment and big shout out to Open Smile, which is a charitable organization that they're working with closely to bring innovation around the world to philanthropic efforts like that for charity work.
Yeah, that strategy follows Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation as well.
Exactly. And Bill has always had the huge personal commitment to healthcare, as has Microsoft, and it's good to see that continue and extend.
Excellent. Dan Munro, thank you very much for joining the show. Casino Healthcare is his book. Check it out. And again, thank you for joining us, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you again for joining me for this aired recording from HIMSS18 live in Las Vegas. And please tune in weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific to always hear our latest shows. As always, you can track me on Twitter at HIT Advisor and use the hashtag ThisJustinRadio so we can respond to your comments from the show. If you miss any of this episode or want to hear more, All of my radio shows are posted at thisjustinradio.com, as well as on Apple iTunes, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Google Play, and TuneIn. Also, check out the new website we've launched at justinbarnes.com. Thanks, everyone. Have a terrific week.